Hello again, Old School Ben, and today we will be talking about Street Sk8er for the PlayStation. This classic has the highly exalted honor of being the first skateboarding game for the PlayStation. Sure, there are examples of games with skateboards in them that predate Street Sk8er, but that doesn't exactly make them skateboarding games. This pioneer of the genre on Sony's flagship into the world of console gaming was developed by Microcabin, a Japanese company known best as developer of RPGs for Japanese computers like the PC-88 and the MSX. As the gaming landscape continued to grow in the 90s, RPGs became less sustainable, forcing Microcabin to move away from the genre. In 2000, Microcabin would hang its hat in the gaming world. Well, what we would consider gaming at least, as it would enter the glamorous world of pachinko machines. It's unclear if the bright minds that illuminated the late 80s with their expansive RPGs worked on Street Sk8er, Streetboarder in Japan, but in North America the game was published by EA in 1999. That's right, the same EA that years later would bring us the heaven-sent Skate franchise published this game, but unlike Skate, this game would ultimately be forgotten among other games in this genre, overshadowed by the legacy of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, forcing Street Sk8er to be a shady footnote, a foggy memory crippled by the early progression of skateboarding games on home consoles. It's a familiar story, a reoccurring theme that will become even more common in future videos, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Being the first skateboarding game for the console, you would expect an experience that is unique to the PlayStation, something that defines the genre. Sadly, Street Sk8er plays more like an arcade-style game, an arcade-style skateboarding game, an arcade-style skateboarding game made by Sega, Top Skater. Comparing the two could lead you to the conclusion that you are not looking at a game that is a breath of fresh air, but rather a breath of secondhand smoke. Again, it's another reoccurring theme in this genre. The similarities of the two games doesn't stop with its gameplay style. There are still similarities shared by the two games, but there's more to Street Sk8er than simply being a Top Skater clone. Not much more, but trust me, it's there. Time now for a short history lesson. Let's rewind to the late 80s. The backdrop is a punk rock movement wailing heavily from the West with a booming scene and a new generation of punk rock ushering in the new decade. As West Coast punk gained popularity, record labels began signing punk rock bands to meet the growing demand. Big name labels such as Atlantic, Epic, Columbia, and Capitol Records would soon have the sound of punk rock in its ranks. Among the growing success of the genre, Bad Religion guitarist Brett Gurewitz signs multiple bands to his indie label Epitaph. Epitaph would go on to produce albums for Pennywise, The Offspring, NoFX, Rancid, The Vandals, and countless other bands, becoming a symbol of punk rock being the few successful indie labels of the time. Running parallel to this movement was the delinquent activity known as skateboarding, which at this time has crawled from the ocean that was the early 80s vertical skating scene and found its legs on new land. The landscape, of course, being the frontier of street skating. With street skating began new popularity in skateboarding that also happened to coincide with California's growing punk rock scene. The product of the two was a genre and lifestyle called skate punk. And while the skate punk label was slapped on musical genres ranging from ska to thrash to hardcore, even the bastardized version of punk rock, pop punk, it was also shorthand for any hoodlum of the skateboarding variety. Class dismissed. The soundtrack, as you may have guessed by now, is composed solely of skate punk bands that were popular when the game was released. The majority of the music featured in the game is from indie record label Epitaph, with punk bands from Capitol Records filling in the cracks. Less Than Jake, All, I Against I, H2O, The Pie Tasters, and Gas Huffer are a few of the bands whose music is featured in this game. And I hope that you're a fan because you will be hearing the same songs over and over again as you complete the game. This formula for the score of a skateboarding game was also taken from Sega's Top Skater. Top Skater's music was performed by the band Pennywise, who was also signed to the Epitaph label. The music in Street Sk8er fits in with an over-the-top presentation of the game and can accurately capture the vibe of the skate punk scene in the late 90s. At long last, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the game itself. I could save you guys the time and tell you that Street Sk8er is a Top Skater clone, but that's not doing the game justice. The main difference between the two is the method of control. Top Skater's control forces you to use a built-in skateboard controller that you stand on. Street Sk8er is a similar experience visually, however you use the PlayStation controller instead. The object of the game is to reach the end of the course exceeding a certain number of points, all in the allotted time. The game has some racing elements as well, giving you more time as you pass each checkpoint. The game is very limiting in what your skater can actually do, and each skater will have a different trick set. Depending on the type of obstacle and your speed level, different tricks can be performed. Grinding can be accomplished by simply ollieing onto a rail or grindable surface. Mistiming a jump or hitting a wall or obstacle will result in a point reduction. Each of the characters have slightly different stats with upgrades available as you progress. There are also a few unlockable characters as well, which does the game a service on account of how short it is. The game has 3 levels with a couple of bonus levels where you can earn extra time towards your next timed run. There are also alternate paths in the main level that you will unlock upon completing the game. The game is short and sweet and allows you to become comfortable with both your skater and the skateboard course. For the time, it was a marvel that a game could present you with a home console skateboarding experience that mimics that of the high-end arcade cabinets. Though in hindsight, it's really no surprise why this game was quickly forgotten. What it brought to the table was the promise of great things to come and a very memorable soundtrack. The graphics have not aged well, but like many early 3D games on the PlayStation, hold a certain charm. There would be many skateboarding games to follow up Street Sk8er on the PlayStation, including Grind Session, Thrasher Presents Skate and Destroy, MTV Sports Skateboarding, and of course the king of the PlayStation, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Admittedly, the game sets the bar quite low and was received mildly by its critics. Only those who look at the game through nostalgic eyes hold the game in any type of high regard. Still, despite being a dated gaming experience, Street Sk8er has both attitude and style. The PlayStation was the console for skateboarding games, and Street Sk8er kicked off the destruction with a valiant effort. The game would be a success by its sequel, Street Sk8er 2, which addresses many of the problems in the original game and adds many new elements, making it a much deeper skateboarding experience. Skateboarding games would continue to become more technical and complicated in some aspects, but Street Sk8er keeps it simple. I have many fond memories playing the game and recommend it to anyone who has the slightest interest. It serves as a key point in the timeline of skateboarding games, a genre that I will continue to explore in future videos, as well as an example of punk rock's influence in skateboarding and game design. Street Sk8er would be surpassed many times over, but let none of us forget where we came from. We live our lives and we grow with each passing day. Most importantly, we improve and learn from our actions. Both in life and in skateboarding, this is an important concept to grasp. This game is a small representation of what skateboarding, punk rock, and video games were at one point in time, and just like all of our former selves, have progressed through the changing ages. Skateboarding has boomed in popularity, reaching all corners of the globe. Video games have become bigger, deeper, and more visually stunning. Punk rock? Well, punk rock is and always will be punk rock. Some things change, some things remain the same, and every passing moment is but a fleeting snapshot in our existence. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Street Sk8er for the original PlayStation, the first skateboarding game for the PlayStation, the first of many awesome games. Again, I would like to thank you all for taking the time to watch my video and allow me to express my love and appreciation for skateboarding and video games. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. If not, leave a comment. Let me know what I can do better next time. And if you love skateboarding the way I love skateboarding, then you have to check out Foot Soldier Official. That is my skateboarding channel. We just uploaded an awesome video that took us 5 years to film, so please check that out. Time for some shout outs. Again, I'd like to give another huge shout out to Red Ace Productions for allowing me to use his instrumental in my intro. He's got tons of awesome video game related instrumentals and a bunch of other stuff on his channel, so check him out, give him a like, give him a subscribe. He definitely deserves it. And that wraps up another episode. But don't be sad, because next time I'm going to be tackling Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I'm super excited and I can't wait to see you guys there. Goodbye.